All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for My Hero Academia, Season 4, Episode 8.
And it's going down.
We are entering the Hasaikai group.
Yep.
There are a couple things I needed to make sure I got clarified from the previous episode. One was that the 8 bullets of basically are pawns by Overhaul and their whole organization to be the ones that then acted on their own and just got violent and were basically just pawns to distract and buy time and or probably showcase what their organization is capable of to the heroes as like this wasn't a declaration of war publicly, but because you're attacking us, this is
You guys can read between the lines.
Yeah, this is what we did with just 8 people. Like, get freaked out about that. And that is pretty intimidating as well, given that one of them, the one that busted through the gate right as they were like, we are going to read your rights, and then and they're like, okay, we'll just read them as we're in. Let's get to our dungeon crawl, though. I'm hyped.
Yeah, this is going to be good.
So y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below and the pinned comment below, and then come back here for the discussion. Okay, cool. This reminds me of kind of like the Shinso episode. We have the big kind of climactic fights about to happen. And at the very beginning of them, we're going to give some backstory to a character that we hadn't really, been given a lot of attention to.
Right.
One that was more newly introduced. Someone that's a little bit of a quieter, misunderstood character. But,
Yeah, the stuff they did here for the characterization for Amajiki.
Tamaki.
Yeah, Amajiki or Tamaki. I like it. And bringing back the whole idea of Mirio wasn't always the, able to do all this crazy stuff flawlessly like he is now.
Right. But even then at that point, because of his determination and his persistence, he was seen as the son by someone like Tamaki, who has kind of the problems of, I would say, early Deku, who instead of being the one that was overly emotional, Tamaki was a little bit just self-conscious and insecure and shy. So he didn't ever really think that he was that capable. Right. And yet he made a quirk that was also one that he would have a tricky time using, actually become something incredible to where he is actually now one of the strongest heroes in, Japan. Right. Which is impressive. That's quite impressive. Cool. Yeah.
I did not expect them, like the whole thing of them struggling and all that stuff, and showing his kids where they were at. I thought that was really good. I didn't expect for them to still be struggling when they were in UA though. I thought that was an interesting touch because because since they're the big 3, right? Yeah. They're like, when the way I would think about it, if it was something where they were struggling and all that stuff, is that it was sort of this progressive struggle all the way through, and then eventually they so that by the time eventually they mastered it, so that by the time they were in UA they were already shining pupils, right? As opposed to this, where it's they
still struggle even a little bit.
They still struggle a little bit, and also because they weren't in UA, that was actually something where they weren't forced to face these fears.
Yes.
Right?
In their earliest stages, pre-high school. Yes.
Because they weren't in some crazy intense training, right? They weren't training to be the big 3 because they didn't know whether they were going to be the big 3 or not. There wasn't anything like that, right? Right. And yet then they get put into this situation, this environment where they're able to properly flourish, right? They're able to actually really dig deep and not to say this meaning that it's easy, but that it's a situation where they are presented with an opportunity to rise to the occasion. And I love that, and it basically feels like it's summarizing like the footnotes or the bookends of what is a great story of friendship and struggling and overcoming and all that stuff.
It reminded me a lot of Gon and Killua, where we have basically the kind of we call him the dark Sasuke, kind of like, I'm insecure kind of character or what have you. Then looking at this guy who's almost too obviously the one that's this bright shining star of hope and perseverance and all this good stuff of what makes a hero, and so he ends up being the hero for Tamaki. But Mirio is actually the one that has an even more difficult quirk, has an even more ridiculously tough thing. And because Mirio doesn't have the personality problems that keep him held back, it's entirely just the difficulty of actually being able to use his quirk means that his situation is actually tougher than Tamaki's, because Tamaki can just grow as a person. But his quirk is not going to be anywhere near as difficult to use as Mirio's is. So Mirio is like, no, you inspire me, actually, because you keep pushing out here to go, further and further beyond with this. And then we have the line, I know what you're building up to. I'm going to let you take it here because you're going to kill it here. Is that Mirio is okay. Why? Because you are here. It's All Might. And it's all that aspects of, okay, because I can, believe in myself, because I can believe in you, I'm going to do okay. This is right after, in terms of the context of the current timeline, that Mirio then goes and separates himself from the group.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. That actually wasn't what I was thinking.
Oh, that isn't what you were thinking.
No,
okay,
but I love that.
Yeah.
This is something that is a bit... I wouldn't say it's reaching necessarily.
Oh, okay.
But it's something where it's drawing and mentioning specific things from the general.
Okay.
So
sure. I like doing that. We do that all the time.
Tamaki had an issue with his quirk.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
He also had an issue with his own self-confidence, his self-image, himself, his self-talk. His quirk is based around being able to bring out the power of what he feeds himself.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And he had been feeding himself a diet of doubts and insecurities and all of this stuff. Then suddenly, that's why the Sun Eater thing is important.
Well
right?
done.
It's not because he actually eats the sun, although I did mention, I think, in the previous episode, what would happen if he swallowed some, plutonium or something. But the idea that then Mirio comes along and is that light for him, helps him to start really feeding himself the stuff that he needs. And in a ridiculously short amount of time, all things considered.
Yes.
Right? Because if you think about it, they're third years at high school, right? Okay, cool. And I'm sure for them, when you're in high school, it seems to take forever. Right. But it is actually almost no time at all. It's a blip. Right? It's a blip.
Yep.
And in that short blip, he went from being the insecure kid that couldn't do anything, right? To gives himself a proper diet that he got because of the help of a friend.
Yep.
And look at what he turned into.
Yep.
He never would have imagined that he would have ever, been the kind of person that he is today. But he fed himself right.
Yep. And I like the infinite loop you get with this as well.
Yeah.
Because this is what friendship is.
Yep.
In a lot of ways is what shonen actually get into a lot of times with the power of friendship.
Yep.
Is that when someone's input is something that they have to overcome, meaning their environment is one that is tough.
Yeah.
Like Mirio, for instance. He has a very tough kind of setup here, with his quirk being one that's extremely difficult in order to make manifest. And his desire to become a hero pushes him into situations where he is unwilling to be lazy about this. So he has to struggle quite a bit. As he begins to channel all of his inner willpower to go past the input that's coming in here, he begins to output the result of that determination, and it shines brilliantly. Someone like Tamaki, who is, living in shadow, feels like the blinding light of something coming and be like, God, why are you shining so bright over here? And goes, oh, that, like you're saying, that actually makes me feel better.
Yep.
I could sustain myself off that. But then, it's not just a thing of where he's like, I could sustain off that. Mirio is all like, yes, but that's why you're greater than me. Because if you're eating of something beyond this that isn't even really exactly Mirio's internal. Let me try and equate this almost in a math way. Mirio is turning 1 to equal 2. He is believing so intently in a dream that is not currently manifesting in reality that he projects out the dream.
Right.
Tamaki then eats of the dream, which then feeds out into his output, the same thing. He goes from staying in 1 to then I ate 2, so then I produced 2.
Right.
Mirio then is surrounded but in an environment with 2 being projected back out him. He can substitute the 1 that he was having to transfer into 2 to being 2 to 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 infinity. And it just loops on and on and on. And that is their whole friendship right there. And it didn't need to go super in depth into it. I get it, but I love the way you brought in the fact that this was what he was eating. That is
and the thing is that
good.
Because with these kinds of backstories, right? Yeah. In the whole idea of backstory, that sometimes I think about backstory and I'm thinking like it feels arbitrary, right?
Sure.
You come up with some arbitrary thing that is a way to explain the reason that the characters are the way they are today and hope it resonates with the audience, and you need to have something with enough mass appeal that it hopefully resonates with a large portion of your audience, right? But this here I feel like is a microcosm, not as their relationship, but just relationships in general. Like self-care, things like that, right? And that is, and one, it's a great flip side for the person that looks edgy and all that of the big 3, right? The person that looks like the edgelord, and it's actually that they're not taking care of themselves. But when they do, it's an amazing thing. And I know that like in the times when I haven't been in a good place, right? It's because I wasn't taking care of myself in some way, right? So I really like this, and the fact that like I don't know if that was something that was intentional with the quirk and the personality.
Sure,
but
no, I think the fact that he calls him the Sun Eater means that the Horikoshi
connection was very much made.
Yeah, in fact, I think maybe if anything, a lot of the people that got into this are probably like, well, of course that's what it is. Like it's like painfully obvious in a lot of ways.
Sure.
So I think it's more genius that you just got it so quickly, whereas I was going on to like a whole nother thing where I was comparing this to All Might, because what I saw that was rather interesting was it's okay. Why? Because you are here.
Yeah.
Not because I am here. It's like, I will be all right now. Why? Because you are here, which is a fun twist on that whole person being the hero for each other, where neither of them have the capacity to be their own heroes. So they end up being the heroes for each other, which then creates the infinite loop.
One of the strongest structures, or not structures, shapes, right? Certainly in like medieval times and stuff, was the arch, right?
Yes.
Because it evenly distributes everything.
They're leaning equally on each other.
Right. If you were to take an arch and cut it in half,
it collapse immediately.
Right?
Yeah.
Look, assuming no like contrast, tension, whatever.
Right.
But like the halves separate, right? Pointless. One of the worst designs structurally, right? If you try and set something on a half of an arch, what are you doing, right?
What are you doing?
This is
some weird avant-garde art.
Yeah. But if you set those two bad boys together, those two misfits together, oh man, it'll carry a whole lot.
Yeah.
So
that's a squat pose right there. That's immovable. That's right. You know? That's the good stuff right there.
Right. It's those kinds of things where like I can't remember what it was, if it was like Notre Dame or something, but if you look at actually the structure of it, like someone was telling me they went to it before the fires, and they were blown away at. Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
I'm wondering which part you're talking about.
Well, they were talking about how the walls of it are actually incredibly thin, and they were looking inside, and they were like, how is this being supported?
Oh.
Like, how does this work? It looks way too fragile when you look at just like the dimensions of things, especially considering how long ago it was built. How does that work? Well, because even you get a couple of weak, people together, they can become something different.
Yeah,
they can become something more than the sum of the parts. But
that's cool. I liked also the parallel they were drawing, almost a little bit too on the nose early on, with Aizawa being like talking about the bonds that they have together there. And I'm like, what is he bringing that up for? That feels a bit too like, Aizawa, you give some really interesting insight, but you're like tapping into something that I can tell the episode is trying to be like, this is important. And I'm like, wait a minute, what is this referring to here? Because I almost want to bring it up really quick here, is when he does it, I'm like, what's the was it actually like way earlier?
I don't know.
Yeah. They should devote. They devote their all to the bond with their boss and brothers. They should all be used to working together with one will already. They might feel ashamed now, but that makes them put more importance on their old bonds. And she... Okay, so what I think that is more of he's saying that because there are all these people out here, they're like, well, wait a minute, where's the organization? Why are they... Like, not the literal capital organization, but the like, how is it all structured here? It feels a little bit disjointed.
Too chaotic, yeah.
Chaotic, yeah. So they're actually holding together like a family and just throwing themselves out here at the front because that's all they have are their bonds here. Yeah. And thinking about what that means going forward here is we have a lot of this organization's goals built around a bond that's abused to the umpteenth degree.
Boy. Yeah.
And I like the hypocrisy of it in that the Yakuza or the mafia organization is kind of being had by this schemer who is basically one that if we want to get in a little bit punny here, he's all about breaking down and reforming bonds into something that's more suitable for his own ends.
Yeah.
So you can look at this Yakuza organization as one that's tightly woven. It's built around tradition and a lot of friendships and bonds and blood and sweat and tears shed together over the course of time. Like even trash has loyalty. I'm like, oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. They understand their role in this whole thing, but they don't have to have pride in their accomplishments. They have pride by just being a unit cohesive together. Yep. And I also like that there were three of them because it's, the big three and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But the reason why there's all these ones out here and they're actually caring so much about this here is that it's like, no. You can't just come in here and break this and do whatever you want here. This is our home, essentially.
Yeah. We'll kill whoever you need to kill.
Right. And then we have Shisaki, Overhaul, and Eri, and the ones that are actually kind of, Keikaku Dorying this whole thing. They're like, we have no bond with any of this here. We have no connection to any of this here. We'll abandon it. We don't care. Yep. And then Kirishima's like, screw that. That's not loyalty at all. That's not manly. Kirishima's such a simple character. He just kind of gets it when it comes down to these basic components or what have you.
Right.
But I liked how Deku was kind of sitting there in the background, kind of being like, oh, wait a minute. Like, it felt like he was quietly taking mental notes about this is the kind of person Overhaul is then.
Sure.
Because he's obviously going to be the one that's going to save Eri, right? Like, he has to be at the very least there. That was why they set up him and Mirio. And Mirio is kind of like the advanced party going on now.
Yeah, literally.
Which, by the way,
so we're going to talk about that a little bit.
We literally predicted earlier that if Mirio goes off alone because his quirk is one that allows him to do that, but it splits him off entirely from the party, there is a very real chance bad things are going to happen to him.
Well, yeah, bad things are going to happen to him. Yes. The question is what, right?
Yes.
Because the anti-death plot armor in MHA has been about as thick as like Mountain Lady's thighs, right? But the thing is that in this season, they've been working to try and subvert that and say, okay, people will actually die.
They have.
Now, I'm still very much of the opinion that they just can't do that with Mirio, right?
Well, I think it's a kid thing.
It's a kid. It's primarily a kid thing. Now, because he's a third year, you could say, he is actually, 18 or whatever, right? It's like he's old enough. He's a grown up now.
Yeah.
And they are Mirio is at this point a pro hero, right?
No, he's still a student technically.
Yes, right, because he's still okay. But the point is,
he does. I don't know still if a pro hero is one that gets an organization surrounding them. Like, do they have to have sidekicks? Because I don't believe it has anything to do with them getting their names. I think it has to do with them getting paid. Specifically and being within the hero organization. Right,
but they don't have to, it doesn't have to be their hero organization. They could be a sidekick in it.
And they would be a pro hero.
They would be a pro hero, yeah.
And I think it's probably because they're... the big three that we kind of assume that they're pros.
Right, but they're on the level of pros, but like they're not officially pros yet. But if right,
I'm gonna say they're not pros within the organization of things, but within
from the narrative standpoint, if they wanted to have the biggest oh shit moment, you kill Mirio.
Yep.
You don't now how you kill Mirio. You'll have to be clever with that.
Well. Yeah, but we can look at this in a couple ways. Yeah, they have to be clever with it.
Because Mirio's quirk is a little bit...
His quirk is that he's untouchable.
Yeah. So...
But there's also the fact that he's a hero.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the eight bullets brought up a thing that we need to remember. They can't kill the villains. That's literally a thing that they're told not to do.
Yeah.
Because they have to let the law decide. They're not vigilantes and what have you. Well, so, that's one thing. The other thing is that Eri is probably going to be used, I'm not even kidding, as an actual like human shield.
Yeah.
And here's another thing. Here's another thing that they brought up. We have now weapons that are specifically coming from a girl whose quirk is that she destroys quirks. Which I love that they drew the connection of Aizawa is an inferior version of Eri's quirk, which actually makes it more terrifying because then the bullets are an inferior version of Eri's quirk.
Yeah.
I don't know why that didn't just click into me earlier, but you know what that means, right?
What? Well, that like, because, okay, there's what it means in general. Yes, of course, right?
Well, what it means is that Eri's quirk is one that actually like works. It actually destroys quirks,
right?
Which means that we don't know how she does it, if she has control of it, if there's reasons why they have like specific people like taking care of her or what have you.
I get the feeling it's something that isn't just like a perpetual, like if you have skin on skin contact with her, then your quirk goes away. But
I'm just saying, like,
they could take it some pretty crazy directions. Well, and one of the other things, and this is okay, and if they wanted to kill Mirio, like now there's the whole thing of if there is something like that, maybe she cancels out Mirio's quirk or whatever through contact, which would suck. The other thing is that, and if Overhaul basically does the thing of how do you stop someone that can phase? You get someone that can't.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
He puts a gun to Eri and he says, "Cool, you better stop this bullet."
Yep.
Like,
there's so many ways they can do this here. Like, it's just the fact that he's a hero that I'm legitimately scared. Now, here's a thing that I think is probably a little bit more likely in terms of the immediate stuff here. He is going to be the most annoying, bubbly, laughing little guy to Overhaul. And I can't wait to have it be a thing of where they build up Mirio even more before they get into any like serious high stakes stuff.
Yeah.
Because I think personally, I think Mirio is literally going to drive Overhaul into a corner at the very least once. And not a corner in terms of where he actually has a chance of actually stopping Overhaul. But if Overhaul has basically perfect alchemist level abilities, he can't beat Overhaul. I'm sorry. You basically have to look at every ability in Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, tone down the power levels a little bit, but combine them all together, and that's Overhaul.
Well, and even worse.
Yeah.
So, okay. This is what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object.
Sure.
Overhaul can't beat Mirio. Mirio can't hit Overhaul.
Right.
The moment he hits Overhaul, unless maybe
dead.
Well, okay. Actually, if Overhaul's wearing clothing, then maybe he's fine. He punches the clothing, and then okay. But the thing is that if Mirio comes into contact with Overhaul, he's dead. He's done.
Well, no, but that's actually a good point. Overhaul specifically has gloves on. He has the mask thing on as more of a brand thing, probably because he hates the society kind of people or what have you, and he also has his little allergic reaction issues there.
Sure.
But we saw what Edgeshot did to our portal guy and just tumbled around his insides a little bit to knock him out.
Well, okay.
Mirio.
Yeah.
Mirio.
Have you ever seen Heroes?
Well, that's the thing. It depends on how violent this show gets. But phasing is busted.
Right.
Especially Mirio's phasing.
Actually, no, hold on. They figured out a way around it. They specifically said that matter displacement doesn't happen for the other person. Mirio gets moved to where he's not displacing matter anymore. So he couldn't just punch unmake their brain or something.
No. I know what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, could he
take a hit essentially?
Well, here's another thing. How do you define what the object is?
Sure.
Because he could punch and phase through the first half of someone and then turn off the phasing.
Yeah.
So then he's punching literally at their insides. Forget the heartbreak shot from Ippo. You could literally just actually punch their heart. Bypass the rib cage, everything.
Yeah. So what I would love to see is him basically turn this into a thing where either he saves Eri and he just bops out of there and overhauls and starts tearing apart everything. That would be awesome.
He'd have to he can't take Eri with him, but yeah.
Well, no. But there are ways in which he could actually do things and make it work. There are ways that he could probably
He needs a
maneuver.
garrote made out of his hair. That'd be dark. No.
No.
A garrote.
No.
Strangle over.
No. Anyway, basically, our prediction is starting to come true with Mirio.
Yeah.
And it's just a question
It's going to hurt.
Yeah, what do they want to do with that? They've introduced 2 really strong quirks tied to really important characters recently.
Yep.
I know that Tamaki just got a lot of development here, but I'm sorry he's not as important as Mirio.
That's so that there's someone else to grieve in my mind.
Yeah.
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 And he literally
Mirio,
put the flag up.
No, I know. Mirio is a representation of All Might in a lot of ways in a younger form.
Yep.
Night Eye is one that in some ways we kind of expect to be the one to experience the horrible stuff because he's the one that puts himself into the mind of another person or to see their future and what have you. And because he's used his quirk already, he's no longer going to be I would say kind of a problem in terms of breaking the plot. So I would say all the Death Flag's problems, if anything, just moved over to Mirio, hardcore.
Yeah.
So let's just wait to see what happens next. So y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction discussion. I thought we weren't going to talk as much this one, but we actually did. And if you want to see the next episode's reaction, you can't because we don't have early access because we're watching these week to week with everyone else there, but you can watch full-length, timer-based reactions. You get the whole experience there, and any level of support gets you access to our Discord, who you can chat with us in the community there about MHA. There's anime-only people in there. There's manga people in there as well. You can get involved in any of that, whatever is interesting for you. And you can also talk with us about other stories that are pretty cool, like Jacob's book that he wrote.
That's right. If for some reason you haven't purchased Battle Lines yet, what are you doing? It's that awesome sci-fi novel I keep telling you about. It's available on Amazon, hardback and ebook. Link in the description. Go get it.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.